YouTube, what is going on? Crowder here, aka the Atlanta FaZe head coach, and I am going to be showing you guys some spawns, tips, and tricks to get you better at rank play, so when you're playing Hardpoint, you have a better experience. Let's get into it. Today's map that we are going to be going over is going to be Invasion Hardpoint. And with that being said, let's get right into it. They did move the hills around with these new spawns in a new patch that you'll be playing on rank, so the P1 is going to be where B domination used to be, not in the cafe like it used to be anymore. And the spawns are pretty simple, but very weird on this one. So you're going to have your palisade spawns over here, and then like obviously your back gas area spawns over here. That's just going to kind of be how they go. But weirdly enough, sometimes like people are going to be spawning behind. You're going to see what's about to happen if you let these arrows play out. It's very simple. So, you know, the blue team is going to draw some kills over here while they kill them, and realistically, you would think like, you know, since you're past this 50-yard line, maybe you're blocking the spawns of gas and they flip behind you. But you also have number 7 over here that's kind of like, you know, squad spawning them over here. So you're going to see that they're getting the gas spawns over here, which is obviously going to be like, you know, your main spawns, or you're going to get the palisade. So all the kills that the blue team gets is going to spawn them over here by the gas station, or obviously in the side little corner, which is very, very normal for your P1. And the more the kills go down, you would think that in the scenario here where Call of Duty makes sense, the blue arrows should be spawning there, which they should be. But it's also going to be a very odd hill, because as much as you get those palace spawns, you're also going to see that sometimes when it makes no sense at all, you know, they could spawn behind you. And like I said in the last video, and I'll say in this video, if a spawn point is open in Call of Duty nowadays, it's weirdly possible. I don't know what happened to the Call of Duty spawn system. I'm not going to go on a rage rant about that in this video, because this is for you guys to get better. But yeah, sometimes, you know, number 1 spawning there, most likely he should probably just be spawning on this side, because I don't think 7's really blocking that too far, and he's not that far pushed up. But at the end of the day, the more reps you get and the better you get at the game, and the more you watch and the more pro matches you watch, the more you'll kind of understand the spawn system and just kind of have an idea of what's going on. So when you're playing this map, you're going to realize that even though, you know, number 1 spawns here, number 3 spawns here, and then you spawn gas, that does not mean that they're all spawning palace. And you can see that number 8 spawns gas and number 5 spawns palace. So it's just going to be one of those weird mixy hills on P1 that it's going to be probably hard to get some time. And depending on how you're getting your kills, you're going to have really your head on a swivel. Because if you spawn over here in this blue corner, you're going to think that, oh, no big deal. Like, they're all spawning palace, where they can actually be spawning parallel to your left. So you just have to have your head on a swivel on this hill and just understand where the spawn points are. That's the point of this video. And yeah, so hopefully that helps you kind of understand the P1 spawns a little bit more while you're playing ranked. Because right now, if you're feeling like you're a little bit confused, it's probably because you are confused, and it's understandable. So just make sure you have your head on the swivel on this one. The palace spawns being the main one, and then obviously the gas station spawns. And yeah, I'm going to give you some in-game scenarios as well to show you just like a different way to just read the spawns as you actually spawn in. And just like last video, I will be using Asim's gameplay, and he is now the Boston Major 1 champion in the Challengers, and he just won Boston. He's a very good player. He was a CDL pro. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being in the CDL again with how well he played at the event. But we're going to be using his gameplay for your in-game scenarios. And as always, when you spawn in, like I showed you guys in the last video, you want to make sure you look up top to the left and look at the mini-map, see what you're reading over here, and then obviously look at your time left in the hard point to make your decision off of spawn. You could see that this guy obviously spawned gas, and he spawns in this corner. So what we just saw on the mini-map, there could technically be a guy spawning behind this guy depending on the timing of the kills, or most likely they're going to be coming from Palace. And with 20 seconds left, he's probably not going to pressure the old time as much as he needs to be the one to rotate towards P2, because his teammates are obviously all towards the old time. So his decision here is going to be spawn in and start rotating to the new hill. And if the other team is spawning Palace, they have 2 areas to go from. They can spawn Palace and go down the street, or they can spawn Palace and go through middle to dark. So when he's doing this, he's going to be throwing his tacticals and his grenades down the street to make sure he's like obviously making sure he's cutting anyone off on the street, or if he can hit someone or do damage to get some info. And then he's going to run into Pentagram right here because of the fact that he had a feeling that they were spawning Palace and they were going to be rotated to the new. So you can see that the spawn awareness right there is going to give him a free kill. And then obviously one person did get through already because he was a little bit late on the rotation, and there's going to be a guy there all ready to cut him off. So as simple as that, his in-game scenario and his spawn awareness is able to just show him exactly where he needs to go to find some kills and win those gunfights to help his team. Let's move on to P2. And now before we get into the P2, again, the spawns are going to be very, very simple. The spawns on this P2, which is going to be over here, it is going to have the blue spawns over here, and then the side P4 spawns, and then you're going to have your palace spawns. There is no middle spawn. There is nothing else that is too crazy. And if you let this hill play out and you watch the arrows kind of just, you know, take the fights, you're going to see that number 5 is pressuring the side blue spawn here, and you can see that number 8 is anchoring the palace. So since he's anchoring the palace here, it looks like, you know, most likely they should be spawning blue. The parallel spawn on the Palace doesn't seem to happen as much on the news patch. So with the red team anchoring Palace and blocking the Palace spawn, number 5 is blocking the side P4 spawn, or the old P4 spawn, of course. So what that means is that they're going to get the inside blue building spawn. So you can see that number 5 is applying a lot of pressure and spawning them blue, and actually going to be able to put a lot of pressure on them and catch them off spawn sprinting to make it really hard gunfights. So if you're in ranked and you're playing a P2, you can definitely get very, very far pushed up if you're blocking the Palace spawn. If you're not blocking the Palace spawn, you will definitely have the opportunity for them to flip behind you. If that's something obviously you want to do too, you just want to communicate it to your teammates. So this hill is very simple. You have your Palace spawns, you have your side P4 spawn, and your blue spawn, and that's really about it. Depending on where your teammates are, that's all you really need to know. So you can see that number 5 was able to get in there, and as soon as he blocked his spawn, he knew they're going to be spawning blue, so he's able to actually pressure those guys right off spawn. Let's move on to a P2 in-game scenario. So here on this one, we're going to have Asim with 50 seconds left. He's just in P2, and you're just going to see that since his team is coming from the Palace area, he knows that there's one thing that these guys can do. If they're spawning side P4 in that blue building, they can either hit up the street, or they're going to go through the middle and then obviously come through dark, which it looks like one of his teammates is trying to also cut off. But as he's in the hill, he's just going to be making sure he aims towards this dark area. And after, obviously, he's going to check down the left side of the street because that's where they're going to be coming from, which is going to be that street. And now anything else that changes, he's going to still know that every kill that they just got is going to be down the street again, getting these spawns over here, either in the blue building or the side P4. So he knows that if he aims down this street, he's probably going to get some action that way, or they're all going to cut through middle, and then they're obviously going to have to cut it that way. And another quick in-game scenario, obviously, for the P2, since that wasn't really coming off a spawn, he obviously spawns at 17 seconds here. He sees that his teammates are spawning Palace up here to the left, and with 17 seconds left, he has two choices. Either to rotate through the right, or go through the middle, or obviously try and hit ult and apply ult pressure, depending on like what he really wants to do. And you're going to see here, he's going to be throwing stuns and nades, or just a nade at the old hill, and he's going to obviously try and just apply some pressure to, you know, get some kills here. So as he gets kills here at the old, he knows that right now, these guys are either going to be spawning either side P4, in blue, or if they have applied enough pressure towards the blue side and, you know, the Palace side is open, he can actually flip them to spawn them out there too. So as he's pushing down this street, you're going to see that he's going to be able to get these kills. And as he gets these kills, he's saying that they're spawning out. So most likely all the kills that his teammates just got, since he's pushed up so far in blue and Palace is wide open, they're going to be flipping out all the way to back Palace spawn for this P3 hill, which is really good, you know, obviously for the next hill coming up. Now, moving on to the P3, this one's really, really simple. The P3 is right here. It's going to be in the barbershop, and you either have the gas spawns or the Palace spawns, and that's really about it. So if you let this play out, you can see that the red arrows are coming from gas station, so every kill, most likely the red arrows are going to be spawning gas, and every kill that the red team gets, the blue arrows will be spawning over here really, really far Palace. And you can see that it's kind of preferred to have this gas station spawn, because if you do spawn gas, you're able to obviously cut off the street pretty easily. And they are spawning very, very far away from this P3, which is going to be really, really good, obviously, just for this next coming uphill, which is going to be in this middle courtyard for P4, and then P5 will be over here. So you're going to see that this red team is going to be able to get a lot of points just because of the sole fact that they secured their gas station spawns and they spawned the other team really, really far out. But it's as simple as this on P3. You're spawning gas, they're probably spawning Palace, and then they can either go through the middle, hit down the street, or take a really, really long route left. And now with the P3 scenario coming up, you can see that Asim spawns gas station side, which means that the other team is probably spawning Palace side, you know, and there is a guy on his team that is really far pushed up towards the Palace area as well. So realistically, the information that you can relay to your teammates is if I'm spawning gas, most likely they're spawning behind you Palace, right? So Asim is able to spawn up and make a decision with 44 seconds left on the clock. He's probably going to pressure ult and obviously try and secure this time. It's a little too early to rotate. So if you let this one play out, he's going to throw some nades and stuns down the street, and he's going to immediately know that there's someone on the street right here, just because that's probably where they're spawning and they're coming out of that. So he's going to put some shots down towards the street, and then he immediately looks to the right there too. And the reason why he looks to the right is that his teammate's up the street. He kills the one guy up the street with his teammate. The only other place that these guys can be would be obviously coming through the middle off of spawn, or obviously they got through the middle through rugs. And you can see on this right here on the minimap, there is a guy that got through rugs that is trying to obviously pinch them, and he's going to, you know, work with his teammate to get that kill. And now he's pre-aiming towards the middle again, because he knows that the other players on the team are going to be spawning and either probably hitting through the middle from Palace or going around the right side. And now as his teammates are getting all these kills again, you're going to know that they're trying to set up for P4, and P4 is going to be in the middle of this courtyard. So all the kills that his teammates are now pushing up the street, eventually when they get close enough to Palace, all these kills are probably going to spawn them behind gas, which is a really good thing for this P4 coming up, because it's in the middle of this courtyard, and having all these Palace wall head glitches is going to be really, really helpful. So you can see that the decisions he makes are all off of his spawn awareness, off spawn, and the minimap help. And hopefully, you know, that helps you just kind of understand what's going on the P3. Let's move on to that P4. Next hill is going to be the P4, which is going to be in the middle of the courtyard right here. And the spawns are pretty simple, but a little confusing depending on how far you push up on this hill. And what I mean by that is the main spawn system on this side of the map is going to be in rugs, a little bit of street and cafe area, right? That's going to be your main spawns on this side. And then the main spawns on the other side are going to be palace. But this one's weird because depending on how far you are pushed up is going to really kind of determine where they are spawning, and you can get very weird parallel spawns. And as you can see, number 6 spawns parallel to them in palace, and you already know that number 1 plays this game enough where he's already reading that spawn. And like I said earlier in the video, if a spawn point is open, and depending on how much reps you have and how much understanding of the spawn system you have, you're just going to have to expect some crazy, stupid spawns that don't make a lot of sense. You have to kind of just predict them. And you can see right now that even though realistically number 6 with logic should probably spawn in the rug spawn just because it makes sense, he's not going to actually get that spawn. He spawns parallel, and number 1 kind of like looked for it for a second and doesn't see him, and now they're going to get shot in the back. So he did look for it, and he's not going to obviously get that kill. But now as far as number 4 is pushed up, you're going to see that he is kind of blocking this cafe and street spawn. And now there's really going to only be 2 places that they can kind of spawn, which will be in rugs or obviously parallel to the palace, which is going to be a little just like kind of confusing. But since he's so far pushed up and the hill is also blank, you are also going to see that these spawns just get a little bit weird because number 4 is so far pushed. So this one's going to be odd, and you're definitely going to have your head on a swivel depending on where your teammates are pushed up in rank. So you really want to make that mini-map your best friend. But then you can kind of see the spawn system calm down a little bit once, you know, some kills go down and number 4 like pushes outside a cafe again and gets out of that. They got to all start spawning over here. So this one's a weird hill. It can be a little bit confusing, but the more you play for it and the more you understand the spawns of what's going on, the more you'll know like when to look for that parallel spawn and just how to have your head on a swivel. So hopefully this clears this one up. If you feel a little bit confused on this, it makes sense. Again, Call of Duty and spawn systems haven't been the best in these past couple of years, but let's show you an in-game scenario for P4 to help you out just a little bit more. So here we go. We're in an in-game scenario with Asim. There's 47 seconds on the clock. P4 is up, and he is spawning into this rug spawn right here, which we were just talking about. So if he is spawning in rugs, most likely there's not even a player in cafe because we kind of saw how that kind of just played out. So if you could take a guess on these kills that are going down here, where are these guys spawning? They're going to be spawning palace. So Asim's going to come off a spawn here, and he has a couple options to do. 45 seconds left. He's obviously going to try and put some pressure towards this old hill and make sure he can get some of these kills. So you're going to see here that he knows that the majority of the players that he's playing against is going to be on the palace side. And there you go. There's a guy in cafe trying to pressure that already. So let's watch one more spawn here. Now with 28 seconds left, you can see that he is going to be able to spawn here again, which means most likely no one's in cafe just yet, but they can also, again, apply pressure, and all the kills that they get, they're going to be coming from the palace side. So there is a couple things he can do with P5 now being on the side blue area. Most likely, if the team is spawning palace with 26 seconds left, they're going to be either applying pressure to obviously catch that, you know, get this last 25 seconds, or they're going to be rotating down the street to obviously get to this new P5. So this new P5 coming up, he's going to try and, you know, go over here to the right, apply some pressure to old, and he knows if he gets any of these kills that he can now go over here to the right side of the street and make sure he's cutting down this street. So if they are spawning palace, he is actually cutting these guys off. So there's still 15 seconds left, and you can see right here he catches one going dark, and now he's going to be holding his pre-aim on this side just due to his strict spawn awareness of knowing where the guys that are being killed are spawning and then where his next move wants to be made. So again, minimap is always going to be your best friend. You can see the spawn awareness is always going to help you out of where to look and kind of how to find some more kills for you. And if you can win those gunfights, you're in a really good position. Let's move on to the last and final hill of Invasion Hardpoint. And this last and final hill of Invasion Hardpoint is going to be P5, the 5th and final hardpoint. You're going to be either getting the back gas spawns like over here area, or you're going to be spawning in the P2 ice cream area. It's as simple as that. And if you watch this play out, you can see the blue team is obviously, you know, towards that P2 area. So that means the red team is going to be getting this pretty deep spawn over here by the gas in this back rugs area. And if you keep letting this play out, the more and more you can see that number 8 just spawned all the way deep again, and that the blue arrows coming from the P5 street are going to be spawning kind of probably up here towards P2, just because of just how the minimap looks and just kind of the pressure that's being applied. So again, there's ways where you could flip them behind you if you apply a lot of pressure all the way into the gas. But if you don't do that and you kind of anchor the spawns, you can see that number 2 just gave it a quick look just in case someone spawned behind him. But most of the time on this one, it is pretty simple, depending on the pressure that your teammates are obviously, you know, applying to the other team and all the spawns and stuff. So this one's easy. Those are the 2 spawns, and depending on where your teammates are pushed, that's kind of where these spawns will happen. I'm going to show you one in-game scenario on P5, and then we're going to wrap up this video. Let's go. And here you can see that Asim is coming off a spawn, and he is spawning gas. So this is as simple as this. If he is spawning gas, the other team is going to be coming down the P2 street, or obviously, you know, like that P4 street, or now I guess the P5 street, whatever you want to call it. And that is as easy as that. So 3 of his teammates die, including him, off spawn. So they're all going to spawn gas. The other team is going to be set up. So now since he is coming off a spawn and they are all dead and the other team is pretty far pushed up the map, he's probably going to run into a gunfight around DVD area right now, or pretty far pushed up because the other team's going to try and cut him off. So when he's coming off a spawn right here, 45 seconds left, of course he's going to pressure hold. He's going to make sure that he's going through the right. And as these guys are on this hill, there are going to be people all over him, you know, like pushed up. So you can see he's not just sprinting out and getting into the hill, because right now he needs to draw some kills to relieve the pressure that the other team's putting on his team, to make sure he can get these kills and then start pushing up. So you can see he gets to the back blue area, he throws up a pre-aim, and he can see that obviously his opponents are coming down the street. He's trying to get these kills, and now that they get all these kills, you know where the next set of kills are going to be. They're either going to be spawning behind them gas or up the P2 street. So you're going to see that Asim is now going to try and push up the middle, make sure that he's cutting this stuff off. If he sees nothing that's spawning ice cream taking this long route, you can pinch this dark area right here. So again, his idea of understanding where where people are coming from is always going to help. And now this is just obviously unfortunate that this guy got through dark as he aimed middle, so that was just bad timing. But that is what you want to always be when you are obviously playing Call of Duty and just understanding this just in general. So hopefully the in-game scenarios helped you guys out. Hopefully the spawn video helped you guys out too. If it did, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And as always, it's been your boy Crowder, and I will be posting every single one of these maps. So make sure you sub one last time. And I love you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.